Hey guys, and welcome back to the Staking Summit 2025 here in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We're here for another interview. This time we're joined by Jason, head of BD for Silhouette. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Jason. I think we'll start by just asking you for you to give us a rundown of what Silhouette is and what I've been doing in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So Silhouette is a protocol that's designing a privacy and compliance layer on top of Hyperliquid.
Okay.
Um, we mainly focus on creating the best possible environment in order for price execution.
Mhm.
Hyperliquid is a open, a decentralized exchange, and a lot of different teams and entities and large institutions want to come on chain, and so they need a solution for privacy and ultimately a solution for compliance. And so we're servicing that need, and at the same time creating the best possible environment in order for people to execute with high fidelity, high quality trades. It's like in the best possible way. Yeah,
All right. All right.
bit redundant, but yeah.
No, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's good. So privacy is obviously a big thing, right? That you're working on. Where do you see the need for this privacy? Did you is this the reason why you started Silhouette, or is it something that came along after you deployed?
Yeah. So the original idea for Silhouette was rooted in privacy.
Okay.
Um, it is the general idea is that in order for people, there's a reflexive cycle within decentralized exchanges. Um, there are certain trade sizes and there are certain entities that want to be able to trade in size. And the problem is that if they come in a hyperliquid, their position is very public. So, for example, do you remember James Wynn when it came on? He had like 500 million Bitcoin or whatever, and there's like, it just creates toxic flow.
Mhm.
There are entities that want to come on chain and be able to buy and ease in or out of positions.
Okay.
And because it's visible, people can front run these transactions.
Yeah.
It can create toxic flow for them. And so there's just a natural need for privacy. Um, and so the idea is that, we started that on that premise.
Okay.
And through that process, we've talked with a lot of different funds, high net worth individuals, large traders, institutions, and things like that. And it's naturally sort of developed and kind of progressed in a direction where everyone wants a very specific sort of use case for their, the high net worth individual is trading and they want to have high fidelity for like maybe the majors like ETH, BTC, Sol, things like that. The fund might want a specific order flow like an RFQ or a TWAP, VWAP. And so we've created this very robust, customizable system in order to service all of those individuals. And that is naturally sort of taken into the direction of compliance because now we have, very, very, very large, like some of the largest trading institutions that are interested in participating on Hyperliquid. They just simply can't access it for various different reasons. Or they're there and they're trying to find and navigate a way to kind of come on chain where they need maybe compliance to make sure that they're not trading against DPRK, or maybe they want to be able to trade within a white labeled system or black labeled system, things like that. So that's kind of the natural direction. It's originally rooted in privacy and is now sort of turned into like this future facing system that's more like you can think of it as like an execution management system where really all we're trying to do is create the best possible price execution for traders.
Okay.
And if we can do that, then maybe more liquidity comes on chain. And if you have more liquidity, you have better UX. If you have better UX and more liquidity, there's better trades. And so there's this
Snowball effect.
there's a snowball effect that comes with these things. And so we want to bring on more liquidity. We want to bring on more traders. And we want to offer the best environment in order for them to do that.
All right. And how far would you say you are in development? Is this something that you're offering already? And maybe not everything, some things.
Soon TM. So we just announced the closed beta. We'll be wrapping that up fairly soon. We want to get the hands out into. We really designed the product with traders in mind. And so we have very robust API documentation. We work very closely with a lot of institutions to try to understand how they interact with these things. Also considering things like HIP-free markets, builder codes, these things as well. And so the closed beta, the beta that we're launching is really just to get feedback on like the trading experience. Do people enjoy what they're doing? Like we need our target demographic to really like Silhouette. And does it feel good? Is it performant? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, so the idea is right now we have the closed beta. Fairly soon we'll open that up to a larger swath of people. And then shortly after that, we'll get the product out there in front of other people's hands with some functionality. And then the idea is to continually roll out more and more functionality. But at the same time, making sure that we can compose and add value to a lot of the other teams that are building on Hyperliquid as well. Those that are building builder code front ends like Based or HIP3 markets like Felix or Athena or what have you. So there's a lot of there's a lot of pots on the stove right now, but we're trying to push in a very as fast as and efficiently as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the plan is soon TM. We're working on it. It's a very complicated product. You have to think of it as like this. It's almost in an abstract way, like a layer 2 on top of Hyperliquid.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it can be a very complicated process to make sure that things are settling on the book, make sure that we're able to verify everything, encrypt everything, make sure the key management system is very robust. The idea is that if we build this the right way, it's quite scalable, but it's tough to build the initial foundation. So we're taking a lot of time to make sure that we have a very robust, strong system that's secure and scalable and performant so that we can service the people that need it.
Yeah, of course. Sorry to put you on the spot there, but we're always trying to get some alpha here in the interviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, it's totally understandable that you want to make it right? You don't want to just say, okay, we're live, and then there's an issue and have to roll back or whatever. So that's all good. You mentioned HIP3 there.
Yes.
Which is something that I wanted to talk a little bit about because there's been this crazy talk about HIP3, a lot of hype to begin with. Now we're seeing some of this perp dexes roll out there. What would you think the impact of Silhouette would be in this particular topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's kind of like, I think off the top of my head, maybe 3 verticals. The first vertical is offering privacy to other people building HIP3 markets. Every protocol like Ventuals or, Kinetic, Units, Trade.xyz, Athena coming out with their Hyena, etc., they may or may not need privacy. Or they might have traders that are interested in trading on those markets, they might need privacy. So one is like positioning Silhouette in a way that adds value to those specific markets. The other is helping teams that are trying to onboard and create HIP3 markets. So there's a myriad of different teams that are trying to figure out a way in order to get involved. But it's extremely difficult. Like you have to have hype, you have to be able to work with market makers. There's a very lengthy end-to-end process that is required in order for you to launch a market successfully. You cannot just buy the ticker and then launch.
Yeah.
It is. It won't succeed very well. And Unit did a really good job with Trade.xyz. It's good that they're coming in and having this sort of like package, this out-of-box experience, because this demonstrates that it can be successful. And then you have the other teams following up, Ventuals, Felix, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, Felix just launched like 2 days ago.
Yeah, Felix launched a few days ago. Kudos to their team. Big Farmer and Fred and Fred Fred. I've known them for a little while, so I hope they're very successful in what they do. And then you have Ventuals. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see the direction that things go. I think with HIP3 markets, there's going to be a bit of like as it is with all things, there's going to be a sort of expansion effort. You have a lot of different teams trying to do it. And then there will probably be like a consolidation into like maybe a core 3 or 4. And then we'll see the reflexive like synergies or sort of like the reciprocation of those value coming back to Hyperliquid. These things can vary depending on like quote asset or what have you. But the idea is that we can bring more and more trading onto Hyperliquid, which is net beneficial for everyone. Yeah, exactly.
No, exciting times because, as you said, we don't know where it's going, but we know that there's something there, right? There's something of value there, and so it's pretty exciting to see all of these teams trying to come up with different solutions.
Absolutely.
Really nice. Well, thanks for this. I want to end the interview. I've been ending the interviews with everyone with asking like more broad question. There's a lot of people, a lot of leaders in the industry here, and so I think having like a very global understanding of where people think this space is going is nice. So I wanted to pick your brain on what do you think is the next big innovation coming to the Web3 space as a whole in the next, I don't know, 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. 1 to 3 years. So I think, in my opinion, the hottest areas are probably going to be a combination of like stable coins. With stable coins, you have regulation playing a part. A lot of public and private companies are starting to get involved. A lot of countries now are starting to get involved, like Korea, South America. Europe is upping their regulation requirements. US is really going heavy on this as well. Because there's really two bastions of innovation left on the stablecoin space, which is payments and FX. These are sort of like where people are looking at. The second would be RWAs. RWAs, like the general idea would be that, yes, we want people to trade more on chain, but there's a 0 to 1 on that, right? So 0 would be kind of like a trade.xyz where, HIP3 markets is just an oracle that's demonstrating some price of Tesla or what have you. But the future of, the HIP3 or the future of this is where you have a native issuance of RWAs on chain.
Okay.
That's a very different world.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly having people actually have and hold capital or net worth on chain is going to be very, very big. But that's a long-term vision.
Yeah.
And then the third bucket would probably be, all right. I think the third bucket would probably be payments, which is kind of like adjacent to stable coins. But I think payments, so we see some of this today. So like Tron, they had the majority of USDT activity. They are mostly a payment chain. And then you have this recent narrative with Plasma, Stable, Arc, Tempo, etc. Those are also payment chains. Those are payment narratives. It's still ambiguous whether or not how we can derive value or add value to payments with just a network.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some chains doing this. Like, so for example, Avalanche is working with two different consumer endpoints, and they're just transferring money between them on like just a private subnet.
Okay.
And they're kind of mitigating the going through the banking system, and therefore just holding stables. So this B2B or this B2C it's more B2B space is going to be quite large. And if that space, like the RWA space, the stablecoin space, and like, the adjacent stablecoin space, as that increases in more popularity, it will create this sort of momentum for better on and off ramps, better financial inclusion, or better routing. So think about like with Visa, right? Mm-hmm. So like prior to Visa, if you went to Portugal or you went to Argentina, you had to go to an FX exchange, you got your cash, whatever. And then Visa came in and said, well, you can just use our card. We'll handle the FX in the back end. Yeah. That exploded the space, right?
Of course. It removes the barriers, right?
Exactly.
Friction for people.
Same thing with Venmo. So Venmo comes out, I can just pay you $5. Revolut, pay you $5 for a coffee or something like that. When you decrease this, when you reduce when you basically lower the barriers and you open this up to a lot of different fintechs and things that play a part, that is massive. Yeah. And you change the way people use money, you change the way people interact with money. And that is sort of like the Trojan horse in a way of getting more broader crypto adoption. But it's going to be messy. The next 1 to 3 years are going to be very messy of like, which stablecoin is the best stablecoin, which RWA is doing what, how do we make sure it's the real thing?
You think there's a space to many stablecoins as we have today, or you think there'll be a winner in the end?
It's a really good question. I think so. I've been asked this a few times. I think so. Think of it like I look at it as like public and private markets. So, for example, in the US, it was private. So you had Circle and you had USDT.
Yeah.
And how USDT came to be is a whole separate discussion. It is what it is. And then Circle was a private company. Now you have, like, let's say Korea. Korea is trying to decide, are we going to have a public stablecoin or a privately held stablecoin? Mm-hmm. The way I look at it is like, well, if it's a publicly generated stablecoin, as in like endorsed by the government, you have sort of this out-of-box nice things such as, well, it's probably a legal tender. It'll be accepted into banks. And so there's this like nice sort of foundation. However, there are restrictions with that, and there's certain regulations with that. And governments aren't necessarily in the business of making yield deals. Like your Circle made a deal with Coinbase to give share in the revenue. And it's very anti-competitive.
Yeah.
Now, if you put it in the private space, it might not be considered legal tender right away. However, it is an open market dynamic. And so they're much more in the business of, well, I'll give you 5, 10%, 20% if you use my stable, blah, blah, blah. And so it's messier, but it is probably more apt to get greater adoption.
Yeah.
And so I think, in my opinion, the better fit for the majority of like maybe the G10 or so the more established countries is to have open market stablecoins, because you'll allow for better market competitiveness and therefore provide the better product to people. And then maybe in the less developed countries, maybe more of a public stablecoin would be better, because then there's more embedded trust
In the system.
in the system, exactly. Where like, places like Argentina, Venezuela, things like that, it can be quite ambiguous. Who should I trust? Is it okay? Things like that. Yeah. It's going to be a very interesting time.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very interesting. Thanks a lot. Great insight and great way to close the interview. Again, I'd like to thank you for joining us. And if there's anything you want to share, like where to find you guys, and go ahead and we can talk to you again.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for having me. You can find us on our Twitter. We're fairly active on there. I'm not sure what the tag is.
We'll put it down.
Okay. Yeah. Find us on Twitter. Reach out. We have a Telegram group. We're fairly active on there, so please reach out. If you're looking for privacy, if you are a fund, or if you are building something that might need compliance or privacy on Hyperliquid, please let us know. We'd love to work with you. And that's it.
Thanks, Jason, again for joining us, and excited to see where Silhouette goes next. That's it for us, guys. See you next time.